All right, guys, welcome back in. This is Surgeon Spence, and again, you guys might have seen me on Slaughterhouse Sports, also Rover Sports on YouTube and other platforms, and kind of embarking here with my guy, Coach Surge. So I hope you guys have, enjoyed those first two episodes that we have brought out and brought to life. Coach Surge is somebody from, the Philadelphia area. He played high-level college lacrosse. He's been around football. He was a great football player in Delaware County at Ridley High School, and just somebody that I enjoy doing the college football show with. And here we have a lot of, breaking news for college football. So I appreciate you guys. I'm Spence. Again, you guys might have seen my work throughout YouTube, and appreciate you spending some time. Coach Surge, again, he had a big undergoing of an ACL surgery. So luckily, he's finished the surgery, but he's recovering. So again, our thoughts and our prayers are with Coach Surge to recover well, get him back walking again, and he should be back in the studio hopefully within a couple of weeks. But we might even fire up a Zoom when he gets better. I think he's going to be able to enjoy the college football weekend, which this weekend is Oklahoma and Alabama on Friday night. And then, of course, we have ourselves a big matchup in College Station as well. So, again, Coach Surge, he most of the time, you're going to catch our full episodes, but then when there's big news like this, sometimes I'm going to go live, sometimes Surge might go live. A lot of times we'll try to join up forces, hop on an Instagram live or hop on TikTok or Zoom, and our guy Matt Vito is really also spearheading this. So it's good to be a part of a team. I enjoy doing solo content, and I have for a while, but this is, kind of an exciting and new kind of endeavor that all of us are kind of going on here with the Spence and Surge show. So without any further ado, let's talk about some big-time college football stories. Let's talk about Michigan football. So Sharon Moore, he ends up basically, taking himself out of the running for the Michigan job because of a relationship at work with a fellow, with a Michigan employee, with a female Michigan employee, and a sexual relationship. And that story, of course, got really dramatic and it got really graphic. He ended up getting arrested last week. So anyway, he was the Michigan coach. It was going to be an uphill battle for him to retain that role because he just was on Jim Harbaugh's staff, and he was just an assistant under Jim Harbaugh. So for him to be the main guy, for him to be the head coach there, the long-term answer, instead of just, kind of the interim and just an assistant Sharon Moore, a guy with no head coaching experience, he was going to have to do very successful. And listen, went 9-3, was able to go out there and he had some big wins on the year. I mean, the guy beat Washington at home this year. He was able to, defeat Purdue, Northwestern, went to Lincoln, Nebraska, and won a game. So, but anyway, 9-3, and then this happens. Like, unfortunately for Sharon Moore, he's out. But we're going to talk about Kenny Dillingham here in this video. Kenny Dillingham's the main target of Michigan right now. I don't think DeBoer is going to get the job at Alabama. I don't think DeBoer is leaving. Now, I know DeBoer is from South Dakota, but I don't believe Kalen DeBoer is going to leave Alabama. He's so well-resourced there. They have a great recruiting class. You're in the SEC. You're in the big time. He gave up so much to move his family to Tuscaloosa from Seattle, Washington. I don't believe that he's going to get up and leave. I think that he likes Alabama a lot. That leaves Kenny Dillingham. Now, Kenny Dillingham, again, I've loved Kenny Dillingham for quite a while. I mean, ever since he was at Memphis, and then he was, an offensive coordinator at Auburn with Gus, and then he, was with Jordan Travis, and he was also, with guys. He was with, Florida State before they really hit their run there with Jordan Travis. So he was with Mike Norvell all throughout Memphis, and then, for Kenny Dillingham, I mean, it all started at Arizona State. He then went out there with Dan Lanning. Dan Lanning hired him very young, 31 years old. Within 2 years, I mean, him and Bo Nix, I think, rolled. I want to say that he was there with Bo Nix. He was actually with Bo Nix 2 years, both years at Oregon, which is incredible. Looking back on it, well, Bo Nix, he had the great season actually with Kenny, and then Kenny ended up taking the job. So then I think Will Stein was there the last year. Anyway. Then Kenny Dillingham, I mean, he had to kind of build the thing. You kind of had, Sam Leavitt that was there. You had Sam Leavitt that was there, and at Arizona State, you had Cam Skattebo. You build up this thing with Jordan Tyson. Year 2, lightning in a bottle. Kenny Dillingham has always said that he wanted to stay at Arizona State for another 30 years and absolutely build a program. I mean, his sister lives a couple doors down from him, his parents. He grew up in Tempe. He grew up going to Sun Devil games. He's homegrown, and it's a success story at Arizona State. And you're in a Big 12. It's a Power 4 job. You wouldn't think Kenny Dillingham, I know he's a hot name, but you wouldn't think that he would be interested in leaving. However, what I think is going on right now is that Kenny Dillingham has been really frustrated about the way that Arizona State is competing. And listen, like, they had this huge year. You win the Big 12 championship, which is incredible. You almost beat Texas. You're a play away from beating Texas and making the Final Four. And yet the recruiting class isn't that great. And then your starting quarterback, Sam Leavitt, he gets injured. Jordan Tyson is out for a significant amount of time. You end up going to Utah and you get absolutely crushed. You end up losing really at home, or you end up losing on the road, Mississippi State. They lost to Arizona to pretty much end the season. So it was, an 8-4 season. They beat Baylor on an incredible comeback. They beat TCU on an incredible comeback. He's battling. But yet Texas Tech right now is so far ahead of Kenny Dillingham. And Jordan Tyson's going to the NFL, and they're not like backloading their wide receiver talent. So Sam Leavitt's going to leave. And that's what I think is the big story, is that Sam Leavitt leaving Arizona State, your star quarterback leaving after Sam Leavitt had a unbelievable season a season ago, after Sam's career was resurrected from Michigan State. I mean, Sam Leavitt was a 3.5-star prospect, a low 4-star prospect out of the state of Oregon, didn't even get looked at really by Oregon, after Kenny Dillingham left. And now Sam Leavitt's going to turn around to go to a school like Oregon. Now he's going to use Arizona State to kind of go get his. And I mean, he's having trouble bringing in really good, transfer portal classes. And he looks at the landscape and maybe he's thinking like the Big Ten and the SEC are eventually going to do away with the Big 12, and they might only take like Texas Tech and BYU out of the Big 12. They might only take Clemson and Florida State, and they might just make this a super league. And he's looking at the Valley and activating the Valley, and really like the fan support is very, very good, but the big money boosters are just flat out they're not really able to compete. And Arizona in 1 year has caught up to Arizona State, and he's looking at Michigan, and he's looking at the boosters of Michigan, and he's like, Michigan is always going to be competitive. So he still has a young family. Do they want to move to Ann Arbor where he's guaranteed to always compete and where you're competing on the biggest stage against Ohio State? You're competing against your guy, Dan Lanning, in the same conference. Like, you are in the big show, and he's a little maybe worried in the Big 12 that it's going to turn into like AAA minor league football. And that's the thing that is like tremendously, tremendously sad is, you know, he comes back to Arizona State, and I guess he proves it at Arizona State, but he kind of goes on this diatribe throughout his time at Arizona State, like how, you know, he wants to build it for 30 years and how he loves Arizona State and how he isn't leaving and how he wants to build this program like Kyle Whittingham, and Kyle Whittingham just retired. But maybe he looks at Gundy and Kyle Whittingham retiring, and he said, and Chris Peterson retiring, and says, you know what? I can't even build a dang sustainable program at Arizona State because I'm going to get outbid for every single player, and I'm always going to be a very mediocre kind of job, and we're going to have trouble competing for championships because I can't get the talent. And then if I do get the talent, like my star quarterback, he's going to end up getting poached and leaving. So whatever talent, I'm just turning into a glorified group of 5 job. And that's like the really frustrating part about this whole ordeal, is that I'm a college football fan, and not only are Washington State and Oregon State kind of going by the wayside, but it's looking like if you're an Arizona Sun Devil fan, I mean, this is just as bad as it gets, because the hometown hero Kenny Dillingham comes back. You have lightning in a bottle. You have a great coach. You really have a quarterback that should be going into the prime of his career at Arizona State. You have an unbelievable quarterback and coach combination at Arizona State. You have everything at Arizona State. And now it's looking like a guy who said he would lead your program for 30 years, a quarterback that could have had his name on the wall. If these two guys leave in one offseason, if you have one of the most talented wide receivers ever in your program, he's going to go to the league. So you kind of understand that. And it was unfortunate that he was hurt all year. And it was unfortunate that all the momentum of Scatterboot couldn't bring in a great recruiting class to go get you back to Dallas, Texas. And you couldn't stay healthy. You beat Texas Tech, ironically, with Will Hammond at quarterback, and you do win that game. But the rest of the year, then they go to Utah, and they get absolutely walked in Utah and Salt Lake City. So I guess, like, here's the thing, right? Is say that your dream car is like a Ford Mustang, and it's like a 1980 Ford Mustang or 1990. But then you find out you drive it for 2 years and it drives perfectly, but then you own the car, and then the third year, the car just starts to break down. The car just starts to break down, and then suddenly your dream car isn't your dream car anymore. And it's looking like you're actually going to have to trade it in, and you have a can't miss deal on a new vehicle. And you just, even though you love the Ford Mustang, it just is not sustainable anymore. And that is the really sad part about Kenny Dillingham right now and Arizona State, is that he loves Arizona State, but the job in college football, there's a part of him that wants to compete and always be there and be fighting. And if Arizona State is going to go group of 5 or go by the wayside in the college football picture, and Michigan's going to give him a lot more money, and, you know, his family kind of is part of Arizona State, but like realizes that this opportunity, Michigan's like a top 3 job, and this could be as coveted as Kenny's ever going to be. I mean, you kind of wish it was like Matt Campbell. You wish he stayed at Arizona State a decade. You feel a little bit. I'm a big Arizona State guy with Kenny, and I definitely feel like the experience was cut short. 20 years would have been crazy, but asking for 7 years, I don't think that's too much for Arizona State fans. I mean, he just built it up. He has a good quarterback coming in. They would still be able to compete in the Big 12 next year, go out there and win a championship. It just is looking like he's headed to Michigan now. And it's a great, great job, but yet he went on and on about, that he was going to stay here for 25 for 30 years, and you knew that opportunities would come. Like Dabo Swinney at Clemson, like you knew opportunities would arise. But I think it is for Kenny, when you see Sam Leavitt leave, you just throw up your hands and say, you know what, I love this job, but I can't even keep the talent. Like, we can't even build a program year after year. We can't build it through high school because guys are leaving. So I love this place, but the rules of football right now, you have to be at a bigger school, because right now, even a very good P4, which is what kind of Arizona State is in the Big 12, there's only going to be about 20 teams that can truly compete. And Michigan, 1,000% is in that upper echelon. So that's what's so disappointing. I think Kenny would have stayed at Arizona State, and I'm acting like he's leaving, but I think Kenny would have stayed at Arizona State if he could have truly built and kept this roster. And if they're truly like competing to beat Clemson and truly competing for national championships. But the fact that Sam Leavitt is leaving, that just awoke something in Kenny Dillingham, and that startled him, because Sam was going to be a legend. He poured everything into Sam Leavitt, and he said he had no regrets. And this whole situation has been so eye-opening for Kenny Dillingham. And this job of the Michigan job is a fantastic job. So do I blame Kenny Dillingham? No. I mean, I'm sure Kenny, if he would have had it back, would, all the words that he kind of said in his past about Arizona State and him loving it and wanting to stay 30 years, I guess he would tell you that the landscape kind of changed on him, because you really thought Kenny was like a Matt Campbell, or you thought that he was like really, really different. You thought he would be like Kyle Whittingham. You thought he would be a lifer in the desert. You thought he was this really old soul, and it is a great job. So, I mean, best of luck to Kenny, and I know Michigan is getting a great, great coach. But it is so emotional for Arizona State, for Tempe, if Kenny's going to leave, because you thought that he was like the hometown kid who was going to be a hero at the school, and you thought he would have his name on the school, and he's going to win a Big 12 championship. But if he doesn't stay more than 10 years, if he doesn't completely build it and work his dang tail off every single year, I mean, he's not going to have his name retired at Sun Devil Stadium, which really is really sad to me, because that's what I want college football to all be about, is loyalty and staying at a program. And the same breath, I mean, Kenny could go out and get in trouble. He's human. He can have an off the field problem. Anybody can. We're not God. So we're capable of sinning. He's capable of going 3-9 at Arizona State, not having any job offers, and actually the athletic director, who's new, Graham Rossini, in a couple of years can even let go of Kenny Dillingham. So, even if Kenny wanted to stay back there, I mean, look at what happened to Scott Frost. So life moves quickly, and I mean, it's sad because you thought you were going on this journey, right? And you battled with Jeff Sims to get to 8-4. You're going to lose Sam Leavitt, your quarterback, but you have Jake Fetty coming in. You could possibly go out there and try to put some resources into a Dylan Raiola. We're going to see what happens, but I mean, the way that it's looking and the way that he sounded at today's presser, it doesn't look good for Kenny staying. And this is a referendum, and a very poor one on the Big 12 Conference, that not only a quarterback leaves the defending champ, but the defending champion head coach ends up leaving his home and a good Big 12 job. It's emotional, to say the least.